Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt, and I'm going to work this week. Before I started doing Downshift full-time, I was a producer, and I still do a bit of that on the side, and this week I'm working on a project every single day. And the commute round trip turns out to be just over 100 miles a day. So I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to do a real-world range test and daily commute test with a commute that's probably on the more extreme side of what people would be doing. So with that, this was my experience living with the i7 and commuting over 100 miles a day this week. Okay, so it's Wednesday, day one with the car. They dropped it off yesterday, but I was already at the studio, so this is the first day that we're going to do the commute with the car. I've calculated the mileage according to Google Maps, and it's 48 miles from my house to the main studio. I'm going to drop my wife off, and then we're going to head to Studio B, which is another 4 miles from there. Okay, so as we're leaving, we've got 87% battery. According to this, we've got 286 miles of range. I've reset the trip here. We can also keep track of the overall. We're starting at 4496. So we'll calculate just how much this goes down and how accurate this is as we do our 100-ish mile commute today. Okay, we're out on the highway, cruising along. It can tell that I'm using this to record, but I've got the autopilot set. We're in efficient mode. We've got Sirius XM on, and we're gonna see how we do. Yep, have a good day. I got you.
You got it?
Yep. And wifey's off to the studio. We're heading to Studio B. So we made it up 48.2 miles, down to 70% range, and 230 miles. Okay, we've made it to Studio B. We've done 53.4 miles, 53.4 miles on the trip, and we burned down to 219 miles of range and 68% battery. So that's actually 67 miles that we burned through of estimated range. We were actually tracking until the rain hit 4 miles positive, so we were actually getting 4 more miles than what the range or the estimate was saying. But once the rain hit, we got into, like, it was really, really heavy. It was accumulating on the road. I'm sure that affected it. So I guess overall, I'm still positive, but that's why we're doing this test over more than just one trip. All right, so we're at the end of the day. We're gonna pick up wifey and head home. So with some running over lunch and showing some people the car, they were obsessed, by the way, just like myself. We're now leaving with 63% battery. We've done 67.2 miles, and we've got an estimated range left of 196. Oh my God, it just did a merge onto temporary highway in Assist Pro. I literally have not touched the steering wheel, or this is the first time I've touched the steering wheel or taken control of the car since we got on the highway in Sheboygan, like 35 miles ago. Okay, so we've made it home. We're at 48% with 156 miles of range remaining. So according to the car, we burned through 130 miles of range to go about 112 miles today. Now, we did all of the highway in efficient mode, and we did the entire stint on the highway in at Assist Pro, whatever they call it, but freaking fantastic. Did do a little bit of show off to a couple friends and colleagues today, so that did chew through some of the range, but we're off by about 18 miles, real world range to claimed range. So again, we'll run this test tomorrow for day 2. New day. 1:53 on the clock, zeroing out the miles, 48% battery. Let's see how we do. Okay, dropped wifey at the studio. We're looking at about 98 on the clock, 48 and a half used up. Heading to Studio B, we'll do a final tally on their day 2. Okay, pulling in, and we're at about 93 miles of range left, 29% battery. That should be enough to get us home and to the charger. But importantly, look at this. Oh, it just went away. But we were at about 3.0. 3 miles per kilowatt hour. On the way up yesterday, we did about 2.7, maybe touching 2.8. So I think that rain yesterday did have something to do with the impacted range here. So interesting. We'll see what it's like on the way home. Okay, going home, I calculated I'm gonna need about 60 miles of range to drop my wife off and then head back to the charger. We've got about 81 miles of range, so we should make it no problem. And the only reason I say should is because yesterday when we did our journey, it chewed about 12 extra miles than was real, so hopefully we make it. So we hit 25 miles of range, system kicked on, and it was like, hey dude, you sure you don't want me to find you a station? I'd be happy to do it. I was like, no. Because I'm on my way to one and I know where it is. But it was like when I clicked no, it was also like, dude, okay, but like let me know if you want to find one, because we should probably do that. And here we are, 24 miles of range. And here we are at the hippie grocery store, Outpost Natural Foods, which is literally the only DC fast charger on the north side of Milwaukee. So this is where I have to come to charge up all the time. I just hope there's no one. Yes, there's no one in the spot. Win. Okay, we made it. And I think my math said that we were gonna get here, if the range estimate was correct, we would get here with 20 to 21 miles of extra range. So technically I did outperform the range estimate, which has probably never happened in history and probably will never happen again. I will say the second we got on the highway, the range anxiety got pretty real because that number started to fall pretty quickly. So I was toggling this down, going like the speed limit, like 70, and then I was still having anxiety. So I turned cruise control off, and then I was just, using my own manual inputs. So I would use power down the hills to get speed to then go up the hills while coasting. This thing in free coast will actually just go for miles. It's super, super slippy. So that was really cool, but we're gonna charge now and then hang out in the back. So with getting back to the charger here, even overperforming and coming in with that 24 miles left in estimated range. So even performing on the way back, we still underperformed by 14 miles today, and we underperformed about 12 miles yesterday. We're gonna run the test again tomorrow, but it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna strap on the GoPro, do a little point of view drive. So we're gonna drive a little bit harder. So I for sure know that we'll underperform tomorrow, but just some things to know about. I'm glad we did this test. So the nice thing about the press cars is they give you, a lot of them will give you this charge point card. So it's like free to charge. Problem is, I've had several EVs and this thing almost never works with this charger. Okay, and also you can see that a lot of these chargers are in not great condition. Actually, the first time I came to this, you see this looks like a whole sticker was placed over here. So they've fixed that. You can kind of tell, but I'm gonna try to scan it quick. It did scan. Is it doing anything? Can't tell. It's scanning. What is C1? Why is this not working? All right, so see, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it's just kind of annoying. Stop. Go to the home page. Hold on. So I didn't do anything. I just clicked no receipt, and then it told me to make sure my vehicle was plugged in. So I'm gonna just plug it in. Okay. plugged in. Usually we'll hear some sort of sound. It's initiating the charge. This is like super fun to do, trying to figure out how to use this with the BMW charge point card, with the solar spots, and it's in direct sunlight, and it's 80 degrees, and I'm in a flannel from work and jeans. But here we go. All right, how are we doing? Okay, so it's accepting 41 kilowatts. Okay, so plugged in, this is our screen. This is pretty helpful. So we're charging at about 41 kilowatt, and that I know that can be faster. I know for sure that can be a lot faster, so maybe that'll speed up later on. But it's projecting that we get to 100% state of charge by 9 o'clock. Now, I don't need 100%, but it's 6:30, so that's like 2.5 hours from now. This is a DC fast charger. Again, it's not full output right now. It could go faster, but let's see how it does as time goes on. So this, I will say, this whole experience, you can overperform and you can underperform the estimated range depending on how you drive. Obviously, if you drive more like a normal person, if speed limit's 70, it's like country highways, people are gonna probably do about 80. That's just the reality of it. You'll underperform, not by a huge amount, at least not on this i7. But if you do wanna overperform the range estimate, you want to probably be in manual control. And I did this all with like the climate controls on and everything like that, cooled seat, the whole deal. So you can overperform the range estimate, but you do have to drive like at the speed limit, maybe a little less, and then really try. So it's kind of a game that way, but I will say this is the first time that I really kind of got the range anxiety thing, and I was like legitimately concerned that I would get here. So I'm kind of over going to the Outpost Natural Foods place to charge all my press cars. So I'm going to talk to our friends at Emporia, because we're gonna hook up a charger in the garage, because I'm not going to start getting less electric press cars. It's only going to become more. So yeah, it seems like a good thing to invest in. Okay, so if I am going to have to charge, this is totally the way to do it. I got my little chicken Caesar wrap, half. I've got my Southwest wrap with turkey. And then hot take for y'all, these are like the best chips in the world. Kettle brand Honey Dijon, absolute fire. But I'm gonna have some TV going. I've got privacy with my shades. No one's gonna bother me. I can keep track of the charge status. So every other time that I come here to charge something, I bring my laptop and I have to like sit on the hard wood chairs in their like coffee house or their whatever cafe. And now here I am, totally sprawled out in the back with my head pillow in my i7. This is freaking awesome. Okay, now we're in 15. We're at 58%, just under 200 miles. We're getting out of here at 200 miles. Okay. Now I can finally see the screen because the sun's not on it. So we're at 60%, charged for, like I said, hour and 15. Started to pick up in speed, and we took in 55 kilowatt hours. So we're gonna stop. Really, if you want to get one of these things, or pretty much any EV, you probably want to have your own charging system at home. It never gets old. Okay, so now all of a sudden I have like 60% charge on my way home from the charging station, which I know is 7 miles door to door. I've only burned 4 miles of range off. I left with 194 and now I've got 191, so 3 miles left. And I wasn't even in minimal, I was in expressive, so I didn't make this sound. And I was doing that a bunch, so I wasn't even trying to drive easily. Wait, and now I've got more range. What's happening? I think a lot of it is downhill on the way back to my house from the charging station, but weird to see, very weird to see. But look at this ambient light. Freaking love this. Honestly, one of my favorite things about this car. Well, pretty much everything's my favorite thing about this car. Okay, so I'm home now. I have more range than when I left with. Like, the only thing I can think of is I was driving so efficiently on the way back from work today that it's taking some time to like recalculate and re-estimate the range based on how I was driving. So now it's thinking, oh, I'm gonna drive super efficiently. So now it's recalculating the range. So I went from 194 when I left to 191 when I just saw, and now I'm parked in my driveway, I'm at 195. So we'll see what happens tomorrow morning when we leave again. Okay, day 3, here we go. 194 miles. So we've made it up, final day of the project, 3rd day with the car, and this is the important number, the 2.9. Now you'll remember day 1, we got up here about 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Yesterday we did about 3 and 2.9, and that's with this morning. I was beating on it pretty hard with the GoPro on, just so I could capture some of the sound that's pumped in here in each different mode. So I beat on that thing pretty good, or I beat on this thing pretty good this morning. But once I got back onto the highway, threw it in efficient mode, driver assist plus on, set at 75. So I think what we've learned here is it doesn't love 80. It's okay with 75, and at 70, you're gonna maximize your range. So I think that's what my takeaway is. Also, just something to note, it's a little bit cooler this morning, so I did turn my climate controls off. Probably with about 5 miles to spare. And just one final thing to note, winds are pretty strong, and going up in the mornings, we're with the wind, and coming back, we are against the wind. So that's why we do the full range test there and back over a couple days, but impressed on the way up. Okay, so it's lunchtime. I've gone to the main studio, and they have free charging. So I'm gonna plug in here. It's not DC fast, but we're gonna see what we can do for that little bit that I'm stopping here. Okay, as we can see, this one is way slower, charging at 6 kilowatts. So it'll be 100% at 11:30. So yeah, it's slower, but it's also a lot slower. Okay, 15 minutes. We went from 127 miles of range to 130 in 15 minutes. Now, granted, I am sitting in the back here with my massage and the air conditioning going and playing on my phone, but it's pretty slow. Well, now that I'm going, it says 133 miles, so more, but not great. Now, of course, that charger is also meant to be like you park for the day or for the morning or something, and then you charge. So it's not meant to charge you super fast, but still. Okay, and that's a wrap on the day, on the week, on the project. So we're heading home. We've got 112 miles left of range, 36%, and we'll see what we do when we end up back in Mequon at the charger. All right, we are approaching the charger now. Did about 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour today. That is pretty good, especially with the morning where I beat on this thing. So I have to say I'm pretty impressed with that. That fact that it was able to kind of regain some of its eco-ness. But we're gonna pull in with about 70 miles left on the clock and 20%. I can't see a thing. Okay, so I literally haven't seen anything on the screen. I just plugged it in and then flashed the little BMW card here. I still can't see anything, but all of a sudden it started making noise. So maybe it's working? Comfort Access is freaking out. I'm gonna go inside and see if it's working. The station's also not showing up on the ChargePoint app. Only the slow charger is. This one has its own designated whatever. So it does say I'm charging, it's charging at 42 kilowatts. So it is working. I wonder why I can't see, if it's just the sun on the screen or what, but here we are. So we did burn through 124 miles today, going 112 miles, which is that 12-mile discrepancy, which is what we had on day 1. So day 1 was 12 miles that we underperformed, day 2 was 14, and today, day 3 was 12 again. And day 3 here is when I actually drove it the hardest. So, okay, it's been about 45 minutes. Where are we at? About 56%, 190 miles. So 120 miles and about 36% in 45 minutes. So that's what it was like living with an electric car, most specifically the BMW i7 here, and commuting over 100 miles a day. Now, if you're doing something like this, I would recommend that at the very least you install a 240 volt or a level 2 charger in your house. That would have saved me any of the headaches that you had seen the entire week. Now, some of the stuff I did stress test for the sake of the video and for research purposes. So now that you've seen all that, you can make your own educated decisions based on, is this going to fit your lifestyle? The EV thing isn't going to fit everyone's lifestyle, but it would for me in this application, especially if I had a home charger. But with that, leave your thoughts and comments down below. and we'll see you in the review.